Okay, I think it's live. Awesome. Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the question and angster. I'm in angst. I'm in anxiety. That was a Freudian slip, which is where you mean one thing, but you mean your mother. About this whole thing, I don't know. This is the question and anxiousness session. The reason why I'm anxious is because I'm actually going to try and add people to this call, but I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. I can't make this Google Hangout thing work. It's very confusing. So I have one feed on Google Hangouts, one feed on YouTube, and they run at the same time, and then I have to add people to the video call somehow. So I'll do my best. I'm going to try and answer as many questions as possible. Let me see, I've got the Q&A tab open. So if you're watching this on the Google Hangout feed, there's a little thing there. There's like an app that says questions, and you write your questions there, and then it actually pops up to the right of my eye. But you don't see it. I see it. It's to the right of my eyes, just here. There's a thing. If you're watching it on the YouTube, I'm going to keep updating the comments and keep looking at them and try and answer as many questions as I can. Okay, let's fire into the... Oh, if you want to try and join the call, what you should do is email coach@spartanlifecoach.com and have the subject title be Hangout. Hangout. So we'll try and keep it as simple as we can. For me, mainly, not for you. I'm sure you smart people know what you're doing. Okay, so let's fire straight into the first question, which I got through this morning. You mentioned repeatedly about setting boundaries first with ourselves. I understand the concept, but I'm having a hard time understanding exactly what you mean. Might you give an example so I can get a starting point of your intent, please? I think the simplest definition anybody's ever given for setting a personal boundary is effectively a way of just saying no. You know, this far and no further. A boundary setting, as far as I understand it at this point, is always going to be some permutation of saying no. Saying no, for some of us who were raised in adverse childhood environments, which is a polite way of saying a family that was a bit of a clusterfuck, saying no has two levels of taboo. The two levels are, on one level, it is simply verboten within the rules of the gulag in which you're being raised to say no, and if you defy a megalomaniac, hypersensitive parent with psychopathic tendencies, you will inflict a narcissistic injury and they'll fly into a rage and you'll be severely punished for it. The other level at which saying no becomes verboten is that we learn to associate no with confrontation and any and all confrontation with nuclear levels of disastrous confrontation. He said using the word confrontation too many times in a sentence, with really disastrous effect. So that we weren't raised in an environment where we modeled the ability to politely and smilingly and friendlily say no. I noticed that in my late 20s and had to teach myself how to do it, because just saying no could send me into an emotional flashback, depending on the circumstances. Where physical violence was present when I was working in nightclub security, it didn't send me into an emotional flashback, because the way I described it to myself was there was no ambiguity to the situation. You either do as I say, or I will physically move you or physically stop you. The slip through my porous ego boundaries, the slip through my Holtzman field, if you're a Dune fan, if you like the film Dune and the books, the Dune books, what got through the Holtzman field that should have protected me, the slow and subtle knife that got through, was when it was something that was ambiguous or somebody was close to me, then I couldn't say no to them and it would get through. So setting a personal boundary with yourself is the same as when you set it with another person. You have to learn how to say no to yourself. You can't obey every impulse you have. Let me just quickly check that my sound is working. I'm going on here. Yep, that looks like it's working. Please write if I'm just going, then tell me my sound isn't working, for goodness sake, or I will just keep talking. So You can't just obey every impulse. And I'm not talking about, denying yourself the pleasure of eating the last slice of chocolate cake. I'm also talking about denying other addictive impulses that are not healthy, like overgiving, or seeking to help people in a boundaryless way, doing boundaryless giving, or seeking to help people in a scenario where actually you really shouldn't be helping them, and it's not on an even keel, and it's not fair for you to be helping them, and you're being manipulated into doing something you wouldn't want to do. That also is a way of saying no to yourself. Saying no to the last slice of chocolate cake is pretty important, but also saying no to these the impulses that people with complex PTSD and porous ego boundaries frequently are left with. These are our addictions, is to help other people and to attach ourselves to a demanding person and then accede, succeed, submit to, I've forgotten the word, submit to their demands. And that's an addictive, that has an addictive quality to it. So the first person you should learn to set boundaries with is yourself. This is the core of self-discipline. This is the core of being able to, exert your will in the world. You still primarily have to exert your will with yourself. There's no point in trying to go out there and exert your will in reality when you can't do it with yourself. And in the same way that this came out from me teaching self-defense, all of these things are rooted in very primal, combative, self-protection style circumstances. You're being taught psychology and elements of I think they're quite complicated elements of psychotherapy and psychiatry by a guy who tested the theory and had the time to think about the ideas while standing in a doorway of a club trying to stop drunk people from and high people, drugged up people from hurting each other. This is what I used to do in order to dissociate from the horror of the scenario I would find myself in. So that's good. So I'm totes qualified for this. Totes. People, as my qualifications were mentioned recently, I don't talk about my qualifications much, but I saw a whole thread on a forum where people were talking about how I was still good, even though I wasn't qualified. And I'm like, oh, excuse me, I do have a degree in psychology. I've got a BSc. I'm registered with the British Psychology Society. I was trained in cognitive behavioural therapy by the probation service. My job for a while was to work with criminals who were criminals by virtue of being drug addicts, so I do have a bit of experience with working with drug addicts and with criminals. I worked for, I think, about 4 years in the British education system as a consultant psychologist. I was even a speaker at the National Education Conference one year, which I'm sure is all on record. It must be out there somewhere. I'm a master practitioner of NLP. I got my practitioner level when I was 18, got my master practitioner level when I was 21 or 22. For what it's worth, I don't bang that drum, I don't toot that horn, because I don't really think the psychology degree helped me all that much. And nowadays, I'll use bits and pieces of NLP here and there, but it's not my primary focus. And I did a lot of my own self-study. And I studied a lot of different goofy systems of personal development. I even looked at things like Dianetics, which is an element of, what's it called? Scientology, all those funky people. Sufism, Buddhism, Hinduism, loads of different things. And I draw from all of that, really, to put stuff together. So I am qualified. I just wanted to, a little, hey guys, I actually do have qualifications. So anyway, telling yourself not to ramble, that's a way of setting a boundary with yourself. There is, thinking now as I am about working in the school system, I used to teach this to the kids in the schools. I would say there's no discipline but self-discipline. I can't make you do anything. Nobody can make you do anything. And when it comes to exam time, you're on your own, kids. You sit in that exam room and it's on you. So cultivating the virtue and cultivating the skill of self-discipline is really important and is going to give you a competitive advantage in a world that economically is going into a downturn where jobs are extremely competitive. I was doing this job, I think I did my last school back in 2008, so quite a long time ago. But that was the situation we were looking at, and they all knew it. That everybody knew it. This has some heavy stuff to lay on kids. I'm talking kids, I'm saying like 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, but they knew it. They already knew it. And at that time, I was actually being bribed bribed to by government forces. Wow, that sounds spooky, doesn't it? To work, I'm not going to name names, but to work for a company whose job it was. At that time, they were panicking that people would stop becoming students and they'd stop taking out their student loans. The student loans company is owned by the government, so they were worried that they were going to lose a major source of revenue because people were waking up to the fact that degrees don't give you a job. So this certain entity, shall we call it, approached me and said, we want you to go around the country telling A-level students in England, that's a 17 or an 18-year-old, that it's a good thing to go and get a degree. It's a good thing to get into a load of debt to go and get a degree. And I was like, I'm not lying to people. I've got a degree in psychology. It did me no good whatsoever. There's loads of psychologists working as coffee house baristas and whatever else they can do. So setting a personal boundary with yourself is actually also the fundamental of self-discipline. It's very, very important. I've got questions coming through on the Google Hangout thing. Thanks, guys, for using that. I'm just going to quickly go and check the YouTube comments because there's another one that somebody left me before. Okay, I've been asked here, how do you deal with the realization that you've been used? I'm finding this really hard. I'm also angry at myself for wasting so many years of my life. I guess I'm angry just now. I guess I am angry just now, but maybe this anger will fuel my growth. Fingers crossed. I'm sorry to be a bit of a cop-out, but there are a few really good questions that I saw in the comment section before, and this is one of them. It's too large a question for me to cover in this little Q&A hangout, but I will give you a short answer. The long answer is, we're working on a course right now to help you to deal with long-term effects of anger. So that will be available soon because it is hugely important. If you're stuck in anger, your life won't work. It won't move forward, and you can really hurt yourself. That anger, when it's unexpressed, that anger is a primitive primal reaction to being attacked. If I keep a wolf in a cage, which she's not supposed to be in, which she is not supposed to be in, and poke her with a stick every day, eventually she's going to get pissed off and a bit snappy with me, right? So anger is a natural, primal, mammalian defense response to being imprisoned in a cage and poked with a pointy stick. Numbness, lack of anger, disassociation, that worries me more. So if you're angry, if you're at the anger phase of your recovery, then I'm like, okay, that doesn't feel very nice, potentially dangerous in the long term, but good. If you're numb, we've got a lot further to go. So you need that anger, and you need that sadness, and you need that grief. How do you deal with the realization that you've been used? Philosophically, you've got to broaden your philosophical view. There's all kinds of ways of being used, boys and girls, and there's all kinds of ways of wasting your life, as it says here. I'm angry at myself for wasting so many years of my life. You didn't waste your life. You didn't consent to that. So remember that. Take some cold comfort in that. You didn't waste years of your life. Those years of your life were stolen. And framing it as though you wasted it makes you sound like a waster. Well, you're not, because you did not consent. You were not given a choice. Nobody turned up with a whiteboard one day and wrote out for you very clearly in felt tip pen, or a Sharpie, as you guys over at the pond call it. This is what's going to happen to you if you get into this relationship, and these are the paradigms and the coordinates by which the relationship will be mapped out. Or, people go, oh, you always talk about romantic relationships. What about family relationships? It's the same thing. As a child, you don't get the option to say no. You don't, there is no yes, no, I'm 3 years old, maybe I consent to this, or maybe I reject it. Well, how are you going to reject it? You have no sense of self yet. Everything that happens in your environment before the age of 5, before the age of 6, is you. Because you're boundaryless. You're in that, developmental, shall we say, healthy state of narcissism that is necessary for everybody to go through. You are the world, and the world is you. You have no boundaries. You are also extremely demanding, extremely entitled, hypersensitive, and all the rest of it during that period. That is normal. You are that's how a normal, healthy child grows for a period of time, and then they grow out of that phase. That's the healthy way to grow out of it. My point is, whatever happens in that environment is happening to you, and you are part of it, which is why you grow up with tremendous feelings of guilt. Because if a perpetrator, say as a 3-year-old, you witness your mother killing your father, and you can kind of remember it, or at least you have the memory of a memory of the memory, like a photocopy of the memory of, literally of blood on the living room wall, and that causes you to feel tremendous crushing feelings of guilt. The child's mind at that age can't understand that they didn't do that. You didn't do that. That's not you. That was two crazy people who liked meth, and they had their own problems, and one day that's how it blew up. It blew up into a homicidal act of rage. The child can't understand that, so you did not have consent in this. So you didn't waste those years of your life. The way I consoled myself, and I was very bitter. I had, I think, the post-traumatic embitterment syndrome. I was a rageaholic as well, and I used to say to myself, come on, remember, you're never angrier than when you're angry with yourself. So why am I so mad at myself? Okay, I'm mad at myself for letting this happen. I'm angry with myself, mosquito. I'm angry at myself because, I could have done something. I should have protected myself. I should have protected my sister. I should have done this. I should have done that. And then in later years, in romantic relationships, when the same, dramas play out there, the same thing. I would be angry with myself. Why did you let her do that to you? What's wrong with you? Then the inner critic fires up. If you know your Pete Walker book, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving, the inner critic fires up and starts up, well, what kind of man are you? What kind of a fucking weak, spineless fuck are you to let people treat you like that and bully you like that, etc., etc. So it goes on, and then the pus and the toxicity is internalized. But I was very aware. I mean, I used to be more, spiritually inclined when I was younger, and I did think, and still to this day, I suspect there could be a link, that resentment and anger held within the body could potentially cause life-threatening illness. Other people have tried to show a link between resentment in particular and cancer, and there are 2 cases that I know of where people died before their time of cancer, quite young. One was 40 something, and the other was in his early 30s, and they had both been very badly heartbroken. They'd both been abandoned by somebody that they loved very, very dearly, and the rage and the resentment particularly they caused made them very sick. So I knew I had to hammer through it. The flip side of anger, as I was taught on my journeys when I went to Malaysia and I was investigating all kinds of different systems and things, I was talking to a guy who did Qigong energy healing, and he combined that with EFT tapping, a dude in Kuala Lumpur. And he got me in a session and he said, okay, I see the rage, I see the anger, but behind the rage and the anger I see sadness, I see tears. And I wanted to cry right in front of him right there and then. There was a huge amount, there was a wellspring of grief inside of me. So we've got to access that sadness, we've got to access that grief to process the anger, because the anger is the fuck you, I don't want to cry response, kind of, to a degree. It's also a fuck you shouldn't do that to me response. It's valid, it's healthy. And the second thing is that will help you is just get into the practice of getting in touch with your emotions. How does this make me feel? I know that I'm never angrier than when I'm angry with myself. Okay, how could I be angry with myself? I'm angry at myself because blah. I'm angry at myself because blah. I'm angry at myself because blah. Whatever it is, and go through it. Or I'm angry at them for this, that, and the other. Write down, do your old school counselling where you just talk to a counsellor, and how does that make you feel? It makes me feel intense, murderous rage. It makes me feel like going on a killing spree and blah, blah, blah. I know a lot of my clients went through that, and it's one of the things that pushed me towards counselling. Was I was like, I think I'm having some kind of a breakdown here, because I just had violent, obsessively violent fantasies all the time. And my counsellor, she was really good. If you can get access to her, she's a good life coach, good counsellor, a lady called Nicola Forshaw. She said to me, well, yeah, okay, you're having those thoughts, but thoughts are just thoughts. It's not an action, it's not an intent, it's just a thought. The more you resist it, the stronger it's going to get. Just let it go. And for me, a lot of that obsessive thinking dried up inside of 2 weeks. The anger took a while. I needed to see justice before I could let go of the anger. And then I said at the beginning of this slightly rambling answer that I'll wrap up quickly. I came to a philosophical conclusion. I needed to process the emotions. I needed to change and heal as a person. I needed to grow up. I needed to become more emotionally mature in order to function in the world. I needed to become more vulnerable. I needed to become more realistic about who I was and more honest with myself and with other people. And philosophically, I had to change. I knew that I needed to see justice, but I know that there isn't justice. We make it. We make justice. So I was like, okay, well then create justice. And that's what the Spartan Life Coach is. It's justice. And all of the situations and life stories and everything that spin off from this, it's justice. It's me, as a 15-year-old boy with this, Batman, Bruce Lee, vigilante fantasies, actually applied to the world of therapy. It's justice. It's actually it's a sort of redemption that takes place over time. I'm aware that it's not a good fit. It's not a perfect fit, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Like the therapeutic solutions that we come up with, we have to kind of pull them together. This is a very young field. It's a very new field. We're not walking a well-trod path here, so we have to kind of make do. So I know that these metaphors don't always click very well, but they work to an extent, and the extent to which they do work, they work. So work with them. I'm not a theorist. I'm not out here trying to get a PhD writing a paper in the theory of why this works. I'm trying to make people who want to kill themselves today feel somewhat better tomorrow, and feel somewhat better than that the day after that, and then the day after that maybe they want to go and take a walk and they've decided to live a few more years. That's what I do. It's like reverse life coaching. I'm not, offering people shiny dreams with yachts and Lamborghinis in them. I'm like, I can reduce some of your pain. And that's the level. I hope that gives you some kind of an answer, but we do need to produce an in-depth course that teaches people how to process their anger. I hope that's a start for you. I'm going to switch the question and answers from the YouTube comments to what people said on the Google Hangout. I'm going to click select. Please bear with me. I don't know what I'm doing. Select. What? Currently answering. How do you open yourself up? How do you open yourself up to be in a relationship, again, after being in a long-term relationship with a covert narc, other than blind faith, lol? How do you open yourself up to a relationship again after being in a long-term relationship with a covert narc? You need to do a tremendous amount of self-work, is the honest truth. If you don't want to repeat the process and you actually want to experience being in love again, y'alls can expect a bumpy ride. I mean, you really have to go through and clean up house, and some of that is difficult. I'm not going to give you some pat, just do the daily meditation for 5 minutes a day and you're going to be fine. If you want to live the rest of your life as a semi-healthy human being and enjoy what there is to enjoy in life, you're going to have to do some serious work. So what was it that put you in that relationship with a covert narcissist? Which one of your parents represents covert narcissism? Or were you raised in a social environment which was narcissistic and abusive, with a fucking smiley, shiny face of, we're saintly and we're really good, but actually we're bullying fucks who are going to bully you by the back door? Where is the covert narcissism in your childhood? Hunt it down, find it, analyze it, dismantle it, and get rid of it. Then when you're in a relationship, you're going to realize that, hey, guess what? You're still in a state of emotional flashbacks, and the more close you get to that person, the more you care about them, the more emotional flashbacks you're going to experience, and the more intense those emotional flashbacks are. If your work isn't done by the time you get to that relationship, you could screw it up. If your work is done, then you'll be fine. For most people, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You're kind of going to be halfway there, and then you just work through it. Because everybody has stuff. You'll become more empathic and understanding and capable of dealing with the other human being's stuff. And you'll encourage them to be more empathic and human and understanding in dealing with your stuff. And you can work through your stuff together. That's how it worked for me. So I know that works because I'm living it. But, it's not an easy process. Thank you for the question, Lisa. Next question. This is all very new to me. It's new to me. And complex PTSD resonates with me so strongly that it is somewhat frightening. Where do I begin in finding a treatment and or therapist to help me find my way through? I think it's a bit of a minefield if I try and answer that question. For a start, recommending therapists is really, really difficult. I don't know. I'm just going to say I don't know. You've got to find a therapist and either have that therapist learn about complex PTSD, or you've got to find a good therapist, or you've got to find a good therapist who knows all about complex PTSD, and that kind of therapist we call a unicorn. If you can find a good therapist who knows all about complex PTSD, God bless you. It's going to take about 10 weeks, and you'll find that 80% of your life's problems to date will be over. Just go to Pete Walker and just offer him £1,000,000,000,000,000,000 pounds, English money, and maybe he'll take you on. I don't know is the answer. I wish I could say more. My ambition is in the long term is to share more information about complex PTSD, particularly with coaches and therapists, maybe even to train coaches and therapists specifically in the rudiments, least of complex PTSD, helping people to understand their trauma types, their trauma responses, shrinking the inner critic, all of the good stuff from the Pete Walker book, and to help them help other people. That's a dream. Apart from that, I really can't help you. I can't recommend anybody. I'm very sorry. Thank you for your question, Nancy. Select. Done. Boom. To you. Okay, try again. Hi, Richard. What are your thoughts on dissociative personality disorder? I was diagnosed with DPD some years ago, but I seriously question that diagnosis. CPTSD I most definitely have, but I suspect that DPD is PTSD. Dissociative personality disorder, is that totally different to DID, dissociative identity disorder? I'm not clear on this, and I've got to be really honest with you. I'm learning about this right now, because I'm very close to somebody who suffers from a strong why did your question disappear? From strong symptoms of dissociation. As I understand it right now, it's not dissociative identity disorder, which is what the new name is for split personality. It's dissociative something not specified disorder. So these are people, as I understand it, Carla, who, I'm sorry to do this, it's really rude right in the middle of a hangout, but I need to know if that's a separate diagnosis. Dissociative personality disorder. Is this what we're calling DID? According to this, dissociative personality disorder is DID. And then somewhere else it says it isn't. Oh, that's annoying. Please hold. Tell each other jokes. The girl from Ipanema. You don't like that? Right. Previously known as multiple personality disorder. Right. Okay. So yeah, according to this, it's the same thing. Got to be careful with all these words and diagnoses and everything else. So dissociative personality disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, now known as dissociative identity disorder, that you were diagnosed with. I don't know whether you had it or not. Dissociative identity disorder. I read a thing the other day that said a recent survey of American psychiatrists showed that only 13% of them believe it. 15 or 17% of them believe it even exists as it is described. With discrete personalities who don't know each other. There's a book in the house at the moment that's all about dissociative personality disorder that's really, really good, and it goes away to try and understand the thing that we used to call multiple personality disorder, and when people are just disassociating so hard it ruins their lives. So let me stick with that one because I'll assume that's what it is. If you think it's a manifestation of CPTSD, then going hard on dissociation, mosquitoes back, going hard on dissociation is a trauma response. You are freezing as a trauma response. And you're also doing a little bit of flight because you freeze. I had this described to me just today. What happens is, whenever you get stressed out, my emotional flashback response is fight. For people who don't know, there's 4. Fawn, fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, these are how you react to trauma, to stress. So I will either fawn, try and negotiate my way around it, or I'll fight. I'll try and hit someone or something to make it stop. the freeze responses in biology, in nature, is I'm a chameleon, you can't see me. Haha. Now I'm green as the leaf behind me, or as brown as the bark behind me. I freeze and you can't see me. The idea being that many predators, their eyesight depends on rapid movement in order to identify the movement of prey. And if you keep really, really still and barely breathe, maybe it'll go away. So it's actually, all of these things are primal. This is, animal stuff, jungle stuff, because, we're barely down from the trees. So that's the best way of understanding it. It's a freeze response. Now, the freeze response, as Pete Walker describes it in his book, and this was just read out to me today, you can see, he points out that you can see that in animals. He says in the book, I've seen documentaries where little furry animals in the jaws of a huge predator look like they're in no pain whatsoever. So another part of our primal response, if a predator has hold of us in its jaws and we know we're going to die, is a huge release of opiates. Now, I used to tell this story in the schools, and I'm sorry if it's like an urban myth, but I seem to remember hearing somewhere that if you pull a zebra by the mouth, by the nostrils and the lips, because a lot of predators bite them there and they pull their heads down so that they can then, get into their necks, get into their guts, and eat them, that even if you just walk up as a human and just tug them on the lip, you can cause a massive release of opiates. I don't know if it's true, but let's just use that as a metaphor for now. So it's a Pavlovian response, but it's not Pavlovian. It's genetic. It's already there. You can't train it into them. That's just there. They're born with that. Similarly, we seem to have a similar response. So think of it this way: dissociation. I'm the dissociator. I don't like pain. I'm frightened of stress and reality and loud noise in reality. As soon as it comes, I freeze, and I also a little bit flight, because dissociation is also running away. I run out of my head. I pop out of my head immediately. Things are getting stressful. Go out of your head. Think about something else. Oh, I'm in my happy place. La 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 la. Was it Happy Gilmore who had a happy place? Whatever. So you have a happy place and you just disappear off. Okay, that all sounds like silly. It's like daydreaming or something. No. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm training myself to release a huge amount of opiates through my body. So as I'm dissociating and I drift off and think about something else that I like, inside my body is being flooded with opiates, and I'm like slipping into this warm bath where I don't feel any pain. It then becomes an addiction. Okay, so now what do we know about the monkey who can press the big red button that has the wire in the brain that causes pleasure? He will just keep pressing that red button and going, until he dies. We know that, right? Whatever feels good, the system is going to do a lot of. Whatever feels bad, the system is going to avoid. The human system, the biological system, the central nervous system. What controls pain and pleasure? He asked rhetorically. Is it the central nervous system? No, it's a different system. But you will always move towards pleasure, and you will always move towards pain, even if your brain has a scrambled association to that which is pleasurable and that which is painful. So you'll run towards smoking, even though that's going to kill you, because you associate pleasure to it, and you'll run away from taking a jog, which is good for you because you associate pain to it. So the signals do get scrambled. The point is, you're actually becoming an opiate addict, just your own opiates, your own biological opiates. The serial dissociator is an opiate addict who, whenever reality pops up, they want to get out, they want to get away, so they get out of their bodies and out of their heads. I have found that a lot of people who suffer long-term narcissistic emotional abuse tend to lean that way towards dissociation, because the emotional reality that they were raised in was too traumatic and too painful for them to deal with. So they just created an imaginary reality and they drifted off into that instead. So when you were diagnosed with dissociative personality disorder, that might have just been a slightly older, less subtle model, because now what they're saying, we got problems. Like in psychology, there's problems with the old model of multiple personality disorder. There's problems with the way in which it was promoted, formed, presented. The paper that was published, that was very famous, that was turned into a book, that was turned into a film, and then later on they find out years later the psychiatrist who wants to be famous and get published is saying to the client, don't you have distinct personalities? Isn't one called Tom? And isn't Tom 7? And isn't this other personality split that actually wants to protect you? Isn't she called Sally? And isn't she 27 with a different... And there was a lot of leading going on. So you've got somebody who has a huge amount of stress. They do have splits in the personality, and I'm not going to go much deeper into it than this. There's a famous book that Pete Walker recommends in the Complex PTSD book that's all about dissociation. It's called Rebuilding Shattered Lives. I can't remember the author, I'm sorry, but you can Google it now. And they're saying, look, it's almost like the two different models are like this. The multiple personality disorder model, old model, that we don't use anymore, is you have distinct, discrete personalities. I have 6. Tom, Bill, Sally, Michael, and Patrice. They're different, separate. And what they're saying now is, well, yeah, but no, it's not really that. It's that you have one personality that is split into different roles, and those roles don't always talk to each other. When it comes to dissociation, strong dissociation through trauma, I've heard, there is somebody who's a specialist in the UK who's saying that there's actually evidence that suggests the brain isn't talking to itself properly. Sometimes it's not even the frontal lobes are being accessed. When the person is in an emotional flashback, when they're in an emotional flashback, they're not actually using the whole of their brain properly, and all of their personality isn't functioning as a cohesive whole. It's functioning as barely talking splits, and these splits in the personality, I would understand them from my background as what we used to call parts therapy in hypnotherapy, where you get different parts of the personality. I'm the risk taker side of Richie. Well, I'm the accountant side of Richie, and I like safety. And they would have a little argument, and you'd get them to negotiate and compromise and get it. It's like to the next level, where so one side of my personality that's responsible for my day-to-day life puts the keys down, and then the side of my personality, then I have a little emotional flashback. Because the jangling of the keys reminds me of a time where I was nearly kidnapped in a car and blah, blah, blah. And then I go into another personality that calms me down and puts me back into a mode where I can function in the world again. Well, I've just gone through a massive pattern interrupt, to use the NLP term, and I'm now accessing a totally different part of my brain. Where are the keys? I don't know. But you had them 5 minutes ago. How do you forget where the keys are from 5 minutes to the next? And you drive people around you crazy. But what it is a totally different part of the brain's being accessed. So for the people who have this dissociative issue and the CPTSD flight response together, there's another course that we're doing that we're gonna cover just for these people to bring them back to reality, because it's not their fault. They're stuck. They're so used to pulling out of reality, and they're so addicted to being in that nice, soft, warm duvet where nothing hurts, that they actually, the addiction takes over. So that's a kind of an addiction. Everybody should daydream and dissociate, right? To a healthy level. When you're driving your car, you can switch off and think about something else. When you're tired, whatever. This is not that. Don't get it twisted, homies. It's not the same thing. This is disassociation to a point where you don't even know. You literally are losing touch with reality, and you're literally losing touch with your own internal reality. One side of your personality says one thing, and the other side of the personality says another. So guess what? We go all the way across the room, around the houses, and we get back to a point where actually this person with dissociative identity disorder who has the strong dissociation looks like they have split personality. Because one side of them does this, and then the other side of them can't remember it. The problem was that the idea of people having totally discrete personality parts that didn't talk to each other at all was too film-like and too dramatic and story-ish, and it was like the way in which they constructed that. They rushed it a little bit, unfortunately, and their hunger to be famous, and so people are totally rejecting it. But we might need to look at it again. We might need to put it back on the table again. It's a young discipline that we're in, so keep an open mind. And every day I'm just like, well, if the experts don't have the answers, let's try and formulate our own. At least if it's not an answer, if it can at least help you get through the day. One of the things that people with the CPTSD response of freeze with a little bit of flight and the dissociation issue is I highly recommend plain old Zen meditation to get you back into reality, back grounded in reality, and practice your reality muscle, your moment to moment staying in reality muscle. That was a long answer. Thank you for your question, Carla. I'm going to switch up and go to the YouTube comment section. Let me check my email. Has anybody asked to join? Loads of people have asked to join the Hangout. Okay, I've already done this for 41 minutes. Let me answer a question on the YouTubes, and then I will go and see if I can get a couple of people on. I'm sorry if I can't get everybody on. I'll try and get 3 or 4 people on. Right, let's answer one more question here. Sloboda asks, how many sessions on average does it take for your clients to get better? Impossible question to answer. If somebody is in a really, really bad way, I would say if you're in a bad way, that you should expect to get a lot better very quickly. And by very quickly, I mean inside of 2 weeks. And by a lot, I mean 60 to 70% of the worst symptoms you're enduring should either go away or stop. Like, life should become bearable again very, very quickly. So the question I was asked before, where somebody said, hey, recommend some therapists who are good with complex PTSD. I can't do it. Like, I know that I can do that. I'm not. That sounds really, really arrogant. If I knew and trusted people could do it, I would recommend them all day. But it's a very new field, this. Very new field. You have to have... A lot of things need to be in place. You need to have a good working grasp of the theory of complex PTSD, of narcissistic abuse, of all the cluster B personality disorders, because you've got to cut, like, the clients will come to you and they're not easy clients when they're in that state. So I'll answer this question as though you're another coach, another therapist. The clients you're going to get it's going to be difficult. And it's going to be difficult because they're going to be in a state where they don't know what reality is. So you'll be trying to get through to the reality of the situation that they've experienced, and they will want to tell you, but they sometimes won't be able to tell you. So you've got to be like a master of you've got to master an understanding of cluster B personality disorders and their formation and all their manifestations and all the things that they do. You've got to master and understand, not master, but you need a really good working understanding of complex PTSD and how to resolve it. You need to be amazing at building rapport. You need to be you need to be really, really good at motivating a client and moving them in the right direction. You've got to give people hope. You've got to give people a sense that it is going to be okay, which it is if they work the system. But to answer the question of how many sessions on average does it take for clients to get better, not everybody comes to the party with the same skills and issues. This goes back to me teaching martial arts, because people would ask me this question in the martial arts world, and I'll be like, well, imagine I've got a guy who's been doing competitive Muay Thai from the age of 8, and he's now 25, and he wants to learn how to do, some relatively simple things. Then I'll be like, yeah, he probably only needs me for 3 one-hour sessions, and then he's going to walk away. Versus a guy who's out of shape, who's not fit, who's never trained a day in his life and has spent the last 20 years working in an office and spends most of his day sitting down. Now he wants to learn how to fight 10 bastards, 10 ninjas at the same time. So what I'm saying, everybody comes at a different level, but the initial phase should be rapid. And if your potential coach or therapist or counselor can't promise that, then they probably don't have the experience in doing this kind of work. Your worst symptoms can be resolved very quickly. The worst symptoms. The thing that wipes it out and makes sure you never get into a narcissistic relationship ever again, and that you live your life as a healthy, happy, whole person, that could be... I've certainly never worked with anybody for more than 15 one-hour sessions. Most people walk away very happy after 6, but I'm constantly trying to whittle the method down to see as many people as quickly as I can, so that because the waiting list I have at the moment is long. So I'm trying to get through to people inside of 2 hours, if I can, and give them the tools and give them the exercises and give them the equipment to just get to the point and fix this thing. That's, by the way, you're on the waiting list between now and the end of, the beginning of November, the end of October. You will be invited to do a session with me, guaranteed. I've capped the waiting list. It's off. Nobody else can get me for coaching until I deal with the bottleneck that I developed over the last 3 months of people. So if you're on that list, you will receive an invite. The format will be changed, but I'll send you the details in the email. Okay, so let's try and add the first person. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Okay, let's try this. Please hold the line. I won't sing The Girl from Ipanema again. This should be dead easy. Okay, I'm sending this now. Okay, I'm going to send out, I'm going to send out a few invites and we'll just see who turns up, and then I'll answer a few more questions. Sorry it's a bit messy, guys, but it kind of has to be this way whilst I learn what I'm doing. What am I doing? No, don't do that. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's see. So I have this special link right here. I could just open it to the public. That would be flipping chaos though, wouldn't it? Sharing this video call with the public will allow anyone on Google Plus to join. Once shared to the public, this can't be undone. I'm not doing that. That's insane. This is madness. Madness. This is Haswell. Hang on. I'm just going to invite one more person. And we will take it from there. Okay, I see there's a comment here. It says... Okay, select. This one comes from Senile Young Dude. Hello, Senile Young Dude. We've spoken a few times, haven't we? On the personal messages thing. Does the CPTSD and flashbacking go away if someone does the necessary self-help work? Is recovery from childhood abuse kind of reframing and understanding ourselves and what happened? An analogy could be getting the map to fit the territory and walking around. Yeah, it's a good analogy. You need a map that fits the territory. I hope that you mean the same thing that I mean with that. It's understanding the whole thing. Like philosophically, you can't do this without rewriting your morality, rewriting your sense of who you are in the world, your understanding of humanity, of other human beings, how you relate with people. In my life, it's gone away. The CPTSD and flashbacking has gone away to an extent where I'm unrecognizable as a human being. It's gone away to the extent that my life is infinitely more enjoyable than it was just 3 years ago, and where I was 6 years ago is a different world. I literally lived in a different reality. It's like a quantum leap out of that reality into a completely new one, where I'm doing things that were unimaginable. So, yeah, if you do the necessary self-help work, then yes. But, like the example I gave before with the martial arts student who comes to me and says, oh, I want to learn to do this, and I just spent the first 25 years of my life doing professional Muay Thai, I'll be like, well, you're already fit and coordinated, let's go. Similarly with this, like, if I say to you, oh, just do the self-help work, go do the Pete Walker book, what are you bringing to the table? What do you already know? You know, and I don't want to assume too much with people, because that would be my mistake. When I was a teenager, I was doing Zen meditation. I was doing Aikido. I was doing I was studying NLP. To get a NLP practitioner qualification at age 18 isn't amazing, but I think looking back and being objective, what it showed was that I had that curiosity there, and I had the will, I had the intent to learn and to try and crack the code, to try and crack the puzzle. So when I do work today, I'm resting on the laurels, maybe, or the previous work of already that was done. So I'll just go, oh, well, just do this, mate. And for me, it's easy, but maybe it isn't easy for you. Or something that is just rock hard for me, because there are things my brain won't process very well. There are styles of therapy that literally just annoy me so much I can't do them, but other people swear by it. They say it's amazing. So there are things that you will find easy that I'll find very hard. So I don't want to sort of. I think that's the best answer I can give you. Is recovery from childhood abuse kind of reframing and understanding ourselves and what happened? Dude, senile young dude. Recovery from childhood abuse is not just reframing and understanding ourselves and what happened. That sounds like the dissociation I was talking about before. You might be an intellectual dissociator. This is not an accusation. I'm merely sharing. As one intellectual dissociator to the other. I never wanted to spend any time in here when I was a kid, because in here was where all the pain was. I wanted to spend all my time in here where things made sense and I could control it. So if I wasn't over-rationalizing and over-analyzing everything, I would be off in fantasy land, reading sci-fi books and fantasy books and stuff like that. So don't dissociate, don't run from the pain that's in your heart by escaping up into your head, which I suspect you might be doing. Your posts, your messages to me, and everything you've ever said to me, you seem very intelligent. Try not to run from the pain. It's a messy process overcoming childhood abuse, and it's impossible to do without getting into some emotional work. And now go to the next question here. Somebody has asked, hi Richard, is it normal for your physical body to react, getting sick or tired, during the self-help work? Thanks again for your tools. It has changed my life, smiley face. Thank you very much for saying so. This is from Eva. Yeah, if you're doing self-help work and you start to feel sick or tired, you may also be experiencing an emotional flashback from doing the work. And the emotional flashback that you're experiencing is our old friend Freeze, who's popped up a few times in this. You're not necessarily dissociating, though. Dissociation is only one manifestation of the freeze traumatic response. I'm going to deviate a little bit from the Pete Walker stuff here. Based on interactions I've had with clients, it seems to me to be the case that some people get a freeze response and it's depression. I'm not saying that you're getting depressed, that's not what you said. Clients will come to me and they'll say in certain times, in certain situations, after the narcissistic abuse, I spent a lot of time in bed and I couldn't move. And they actually develop physical symptoms, and certain physical illnesses come in the wake of this. And I would say to them, well, when you experience the depression, because I've experienced depression, but it turns out that people experience depression in very, very different ways. Some people experience it as a massively physical effect. Particularly, they describe heaviness of the legs and a crushing feeling in the chest. So they're feeling depressed, quite literally pushed down, depressed. And that is an emotional flashback. So I think the getting sick or getting tired is the same as this lead leg syndrome, this sudden nausea syndrome. And actually it's an emotional flashback. There's something in the self-help work that is triggering you, that is provoking you, that is giving you this emotional flashback. But the emotional flashback is manifesting with physical symptoms, which they always do. We call them emotional flashbacks, but they always have physical symptoms. Always, all of them have physical symptoms. When I go into fight as an emotional flashback, the physical symptom is I feel like buzzing, aggravated, energy in my body that wants to express itself by breaking someone or something. This is not a rational way for a human being to operate in the world. So I have to try and push those feelings, down, away, in, out, state management, do all that kind of stuff. One of the things that that works really, really well is to say this is an emotional flashback, and then try and seek to find the cause of the anger, and deal with it from there. As I said before, you're never angrier than when you're angry with yourself. In my case, it's frequently related to disappointment. If I'm disappointed by a lack of empathy or cruelness or callousness in a social setting, I get very angry by injustice. Injustice drives me mad. So that's my emotional flashback. But it's not, I don't feel sick or tired. I feel extremely aggravated and I want to hit something or someone. So that's my physical body reacting, my emotional flashback. You're going through an emotional flashback that's being provoked by the self-help work, as you mentioned. I hope that helps you, Eva. I'm going to invite some more people, ladies and gents, to the session, see if we can get another person on. Thank you, Ryan, for coming on. It was very cool of you. Great question. It's undoubtedly going to upset some people. There'll be people in the comment section saying, you can't say that. You can't. It's not allowed. Okay, this person. Please bear with me. If I could sing, I would. I'd like to get through another 3 people and then I need to wrap this up because it's 11 o'clock here in England. Oh, you've asked me a question in the emails. What? Why did you do that? Is it normal for a covert narcissist or borderline to accuse their mate of being a narcissist, either to deflect their own behaviour on someone else or to gain narcissistic borderline supply? That comes from Jazzy Cat. Jazzy, how can you just... That's a great question. I could do a whole hour on that. Is it... Let me come back to that. I'm just going to invite one more person and see if anybody else comes on. So is it normal for a narcissist to accuse their partner of being narcissistic? I don't know if it's normal. I don't know how often, I don't have enough data in front of me to say, oh, this is normal, this is not normal. I can say that I know of many cases, many cases where the partner was, sick in some way, cluster B in some way, and they accuse their partner of being sick, cluster B. Whatever rock is nearest to hand is the one that they're going to throw at you. Whatever they can just get their hands on and just chuck at you, that's what they're going to chuck at you. And also, it's a great way of gaslighting somebody. Frequently, when I've seen cases of narcissistic abuse, it is quite... what is normal is to imply or suggest or even outright say that the target is mentally ill or confused. At the very least confused, but often mentally ill. Every case, I would go so far as to say every case that I know of, there will be a suggestion of mental illness. The person needs to know about narcissism to accuse you of narcissism, but yeah, there's certainly a ton of people. I know that there is plenty of people in the online forums who are covert narcissists who go there to garner narcissistic and borderline supply by standing right next to the genuine victims and going, oh, me too. They're just like, if you remember the film Fight Club, the Edward Norton character is not named. His fantasy alpha male, hegemonic male fantasy self is Brad Pitt. But we've got somebody else on the line. What he does, basically, just to wrap that up, is he hacks into other people's therapy groups where he shouldn't be to garner a supply, and he shouldn't be there. Okay. Hello, Renata. Can you hear me? Ground control to Major Tom. Renata?
Yes, hi. Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
No problem. What can I do for you, Renata?
Well, I just joined this conversation, so I maybe will wait.
The line is very, very weak. I can barely hear
you. Right. 1 second, I will call you again in a minute.
Okay. So, yeah, it is unfortunately an all too common effect to see people come online in the narcissism forums who shouldn't be there, who are standing right next to genuine victims. And I sadly did fall prey several times to people like that in the first couple of years of doing this work, where I would be like a good little codependent. I go, oh, you had abuse by a narcissist. Oh, you're just like me. Let me, try and help you and rescue you. And then I would find out at a later date that the person was actually very sick. So is it normal? No. Accusing the other person of being mentally ill or making them feel like they're mentally ill, that's normal. I can say that with certainty. Accusing them of being a narcissist? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't have enough data, but it's a good question, Jazzy Cat. Thank you for putting it in the emails. Okay, let's... I'm just going to invite another couple of people and see what happens. There's people asking me questions in my emails. No, guys, this is if you wanted to get on the call. Uh, a subject that I've been hoping you'd address, the scenario of people willingly playing the game with the abusers. I've been thinking of looking into the book Parts Therapy for how to address the driving force behind this type of behavior. This can plague somebody their whole life, even if they are aware when they get into situations that this is what's going on, yet they still do it, both out of desperation and out of a possible unconscious drive to finalize or complete the cycle that they have not yet won, in inverted commas. It can be like a marionette puppet on strings, and I'm watching it happen, and I'm immobilized to stop it, even though I'm aware that I should stop it. There's no real question there. Yeah, I think I have addressed several times the scenario of people willingly playing the game with abusers. That's what being a codependent, people pleaser, and having porous ego boundaries pretty much means. Okay, I'm going to see. I have a request from the Amazing Scouser. The Amazing Scouser, I'm sending you an invite to join the Hangout. I hope you join, Amazing Scouser. What's an Amazing Scouser, people will be asking. A Scouser is a person from Liverpool who talks with a Scouse accent. I have a Scouse accent, but I just don't use it in my Hangouts, and I don't talk like that on the YouTube videos, because if it did, I'd get in trouble. Somebody said that to me recently. They said, you have a funny accent. I'm like, I know. It's okay to have a bit of an accent. It's okay, but I have to tone it down. I'm back living where I'm from. I'm from Merseyside. I'm back living where I'm from. My accent's got a little bit thicker. Apparently I've started saying milk. I'm putting like a at the end of the milk. Some people are still completely lost. A Scouser is somebody who's from Liverpool. You know Liverpool because you know who the Beatles are. So if you go back and watch like videos of the Beatles talking, watch John Lennon interview, they have an old school, like a 60s Scouse accent. Like, hey Ringo, I've got a hole in me pocket, and all that kind of business. It's not really how people talk. People don't talk. The accent's evolved. People don't talk like that anymore. But what I have when people question me, they go, "Is that a Scottish accent you have? Are you Irish?" No, it's Scouse. Eva has replied, "Thanks, Richard. Your answer helped a lot. Thanks again. No problem." I've invited everybody who's asked so far to join the Hangout. If you think that you asked me and I've sent you all invites via email. If you sent me a request and you didn't get your invite request thing, then send me another email and I'll try and get you on. I'm going to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes, so you need to do it now. Like, you need to get on there now and quickly ask me, otherwise you're not going to get on. And it's going to be bang out of order. Okay, Kimberly asks, "Hi Richard, when you call a narc out on his behaviour and tell them they are a narc, and also tell them the damaging behaviours, how do we know this isn't projection by ourselves? You project onto others what you are yourself, ? Yeah, if you're sick, you do." So this ties into Jazzy's question, which is, do narcissists frequently accuse other people of narcissism? Yeah, if they have that rock to throw, then they'll throw it. Of course they will. If they understand anything about cluster B, then they will. But frequently, people with narcissism have a very surface understanding of anything. You know, they can talk the talk, they're good talkers, but the actual knowledge that they have lacks depth. So it's very easy to go, "Oh, you're a narcissist. You're such a narcissist. You said you'd meet me at 12 and you came at 12:15 because you're a freaking narcissist." You know, and it gets ridiculous because everything's a narcissist. If you organise a barbecue and it rains that day, the sky is a freaking narcissist. It didn't respect my boundaries. The essence of narcissism is to deny what is wrong in the self and to project it all out. That's what a narcissist does. But the idea that if you call a narcissist out on their behaviour, that makes you a narcissist because you're denying what's wrong in yourself and you're just projecting outward, that would certainly be, in philosophical terms, a false conclusion and a leap in logic. You know, it's I can't remember the Latin for it, but it basically says just because the logic makes sense this way, it doesn't equal the same thing if you just turn it back on itself. It's like it's called something like the argument of inverse logic. That's the logical fallacy that you've accidentally used there. So no, it doesn't. You know, this could be your guilt and shame talking if you've got the complex PTSD. That if you even dare to say to somebody, "Hey, you're a liar," I read your phone, it's full of texts from girls that you've been meeting up with, you were cheating on me, then your guilt and shame kicks in and goes, no, if you accuse them of anything, then you're projecting and you're a narcissist. Well, only you know what your behavior's like. So we're back to this thing of like, people have to rewrite their philosophical core. Where's the morality issue? It's a morality issue. Who is behaving morally? Who is behaving immorally? And people will get upset by that and go, you can't say that. It's all a projection. You know, the morals of this culture are different to the morality of that culture. I don't give a fuck. I don't play with moral absolutism, and I don't play with moral relativism, and I don't mess around with moral relativists. It's cowardice. It's cowardice. Some things are wrong. They're just wrong. They're wrongy wrong, and you can tell me I'm wrong, and I'll go, I don't care. Some things are absolutely wrong, and it's not okay. Lying is one of those things that really you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't get into a relationship with somebody based on a certain set of implicit coordinates and then break those coordinates. That's why it's called cheating, because you've agreed to play a game and the person is now breaking the rules, which is called cheating. They're not breaking laws, though. You can't have your boyfriend arrested for cheating on you or whatever it is he did, which I don't know. But no, you're not sick for pointing out that somebody's behaving like a buffoon. Far from it. It's absolutely acceptable. Okay, next question comes from Naz. Is everyone who are in or was in a relationship with a narcissist a codependent? I'm not sure. Previously on 24. 6 months ago, I would have said yes. You can only become intimately bonded with a narcissist if you were a codependent to begin with, and the roots of that codependency are going to be in childhood. But I've had a lot of correspondence with Sam Vaknin in the last few months, and I've had the opportunity to ask him a lot of questions. And one of the things that he said to me is that, you know, the narcissist is a, what did he call him? I think he said they're a human blender. He wrote a really good line, which I'll dig out from the emails and I'll post it on the Spartan Life Coach Facebook page. And he said they make of the human in front of them whatever they want. So you could be a relatively healthy person, according to Sam Vaknin, and they can mold you into a codependent over time. So I'd like to straddle both courts with that answer and say, yeah, both. I personally believe you need to have some pretty big holes in your ego boundaries, and you need to be in a fairly desperate phase of your life in order to get into a relationship with a narcissist. You need to, you know, something's amiss if you get into a relationship with a narcissist. It's not just codependency. It's usually circumstantial. You know, I hear a lot of stories, so I know that there is usually a set of circumstances like financial duress or social duress or something else is going on that makes the person desperate. That means that they are more open to being preyed upon by a narcissist. But I have to kind of, Sam Vaknin knows more about the subject than I do fundamentally. He has more knowledge about this, way more data than I do. He's been doing this for a long time. He's got a ton of data, and he says no, you can take a person and drill them into being a codependent. So I hope that gives you a reasonably intelligent, useful answer to your question. Let me go and check my emails and see if anybody else is trying to jump on board. Somebody is inviting me to join their hangout. No. I'm not joining your hangout. You're supposed to join mine. Actually, like 3 people have invited. I'm sorry that this is so complicated, guys. I use the computer every day. The Google Hangout system, it's great, it's free. Thank you, Google Hangouts. Thank you, Google. Thank you, YouTube. But it's complicated. So I've got like 3 people think that the way to get on this Hangout is to invite me to join their Hangout. And it's not. You need the specific link with the code that I sent in the email. I'm going to send one more invite out. Guys, if you want to get on, you've got to check your email box, check your junk folder, and you can jump on. But I'm going to have to log off soon-ish. Okay, oh gosh, there's somebody else who's trying to invite me to their Google Hangouts. No, you come to mine. I don't come to yours. I got a little announcement. I'm doing a seminar in London. Oh, somebody's come on. Hello. 2 people have come on. Hey, there's 2 of you on. Someone speak. Someone say something. Break the tension.
I emailed you before, Richard.
Oh, you're the amazing Scouser.
Of course.
You're going to be like, no, that's not a Scouse accent. I'm from Newcastle, me. Okay, so there's so this is the amazing Scouser, and I've got somebody else on as well. I've put on mute. Are you there, Angelique? Angelique, I'm sorry. I'm going to try and add you to the call. Oh no, I think she's gone. What was your question, amazing Scouse lady?
I've been watching your videos,
Mm-hmm.
and I was particularly interested in the about taking the chocolate.
Right.
And there was also another video that you did about why does my family hate me.
Yeah.
So if you take lessons from those 2 videos, and also end an artistic relationship as well, which is what I've done. What happens then when there's hardly anyone left? What do you do then?
When you say hardly anyone left, you mean any fellas left? Anyone left? What do you mean when there's no one left? Oh, you mean in your family, in your whole life?
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of don't have any concerns with that joke that you just said there. I am usually okay on that side of things, like. I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, sort of once you've sort of realised what your family are really like, and and then you sort of end an artistic relationship that was hard, very, very difficult to leave.
Yeah.
What do you do then? Like, how do you rebuild from then?
Oh, it really is a rebuilding process. You just got to take the time to do it, and you've got to accept that it is going to take some time. It's not easy. It can be. It can be difficult, and it's one of these things that can lead to the post-traumatic embitterment syndrome, as you end up with a very dark reality tunnel where you start thinking, well, maybe everybody's like this, and maybe this is the way the world is, and there's just tremendous loss in that wake. I mean, it is a tragic thing to go through, without a doubt. So, you really need a philosophy of life that's going to say, well, I'm going to make the best of this, I'm going to make it work. I've already given them that period of my life was already given. I can't get that back, but I've got the rest of my life to make what I want of it. And the brain, it's a little bit of a software fault in the brain, is that it will obsess over pain. It will look for what's wrong in the environment, and if you're not careful, you constantly keep looking back at what you lost, and you've got to kind of force yourself to look forward to creating something that is better than you had before. Is this all happened quite recently?
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Over the last couple of months, really. I think because my dad died a couple of months ago.
Right.
And then I was left with the people that were left, which I suddenly realised that they weren't that amazing Scousers, and then I sort of like ended a relationship as well at the same time. So it's been difficult, but I know you said that you've kind of been through stuff like that yourself with your own family, and I just wondered how you managed to actually put into practice what you're advising, really.
As I say, it's easy to say the things. It's doing it that's really, really difficult, but it is a discipline. And because I teach this stuff, I now don't have a choice, because I can't be a hypocrite. So I don't have a choice. I have to, when I have a situation with a family member who's being obnoxious or saying things to me or provoking me, I can't. I have to be this guy. I can't be No, I can't be the other guy.
What you do?
Well,
Mark?
well, you know, I mean, that's the old me. I just grab him and give him a Kirby kiss. No, yeah.
Yes.
I know, yeah, that's a dad joke, that, isn't it? I'm showing my age now. Kirby kiss, wah.
Good dad.
So, I mean, but now I'm just like, well, what's the, you know, I'm trying to think outside the box. So I'm like, I'm a mechanic. What's the system doing? What are the mechanics of this interaction? I've come into this environment. I'm the stimulus. He's responded in this way. Why did he do it? What was his intent? What's my objective? And you should always start with your objectives in mind. You know, whenever you're dealing with somebody who's got a cluster B personality disorder, start with the objective in mind and stick to your objectives. They want to suck you into their shit. They want to pull you into how they feel. And they live their lives in an emotional shitstorm most of the time because they're very, very emotionally dysregulated people, extremely insecure, extremely aggravated personality. So they want to pull you into that. So you got to, like, well, I don't want that. Non-servium. I don't consent to being pulled into that. I don't consent to feeling what it is that you want me to feel. So that you're setting a boundary with yourself and going, I'm just not going to feel that. That's what I've had to do recently because I've just come back to where I live just 4 or 5 months ago, and I've had some interactions that have been very fruity and spicy. But you know, it's like, okay, well, yeah. So. There isn't an easy answer. The period that you're going through now, I don't think there will be a more challenging period in your life than this one right now. And this one will define you as a person, which is a bit of a scary thing to say to somebody. That's quite a heavy thing to lay on you. But you get to choose the direction from here. You've just wiped the slate clean. Not everybody gets to do that. Some of my clients, you know, they're quite a bit older, and to come to that realization at age 68, 72, it's like, you know, that's really tough. So for us who are younger, at least like you can go, well, I've still got the rest of my life ahead of me, and I don't have to be defined by my past. It sounds like something that should be written on a car bumper sticker or on a T-shirt, but it's true if you make it true for you.
Oh, thanks very much.
No problem. Thank you very much for calling in. Stay amazing, Scouser.
Always.
See ya. There were another 2 people who were on the video call, and then you guys, girls, jumped out. Could you jump back in? If you've still got the link, please jump back in. If I'm talking to somebody else, just stay in. Just stay in the call and wait, unless it's annoying you. Otherwise, I'm going to have to wrap this up soon. Okay, I'm just checking my emails now. I'm going to answer one more comment. Give those 2 people who were in and then left a chance to come back. Sorry, it's all a bit disorganized. I don't really know what I'm doing, which I'm sure is quite apparent. But hopefully people have enjoyed this and got something from it. Oh, what I was saying is there's a seminar. I've booked for a seminar. I was supposed to do it around the middle of November, but we're going to do it now on the very end of October the 31st and November the 1st. It's going to be down in London. The details will be up on the website soon. I'm going to do a discount price for subscribers only before I release it to the general public, to try and keep it fair and to try and, you know, so the people who are like loyal subscribers, people who've been following me for a while, can come along. It should be great. It's going to be awesome. 2 days. Should be doing about 5 hours a day. It's really, really close to London Euston Station. So don't, for the love of God, don't try and drive into London and park there. Drive somewhere, park up, and then just get the underground in. So much easier, and get out the same way. Do not try and drive into London for the seminar, but that's at the end of this month. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question. You're back. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, great. Gosh, I'm so glad I finally got my technical difficulties fixed up. So that I can Yes, I'm absolutely dying. I discovered you on YouTube. Obviously, it was about a relationship, and you had said it awesome. That if you're looking, there's probably something wrong. But in the meantime, this was my mind blown moment. You had talked about trauma bonding, and in addition to that, and probably taking it off the narcissistic course. But I'm a recovered alcoholic, 18 months sober, and I grew here in the States. Obviously, addiction is hugely criminalized, and we have a system, a capitalistic healthcare system, where we have for-profit organizations that are being funded by the court system. So you find yourself as a client being put into these situations that if you don't participate, you're going to go to jail. If you don't start getting these taglines, if you don't assimilate into this situation, you're always living in fear. You're going to go to jail, or things are not going to be okay.
We have a similar thing here. I'll always be the first to criticize America, because I think it's healthy to do that. But even in Europe, with a more socialist model that we have, we actually end up with some of the same evils. We have the same thing here, where we will say to people, do as you're told, stop taking drugs, get off alcohol, or it will mean jail time.
Right. And right. And then, but what happens is this snowball of you have a for-profit organization. I'm going to cut to the chase because I don't really have a lot of your time.
Okay.
But bottom line is, what's happened is really a huge amount of brainwashing that, and this trauma bonding at the same time, because you go in and out of jail. You're glad to just be taken back in and that sort of thing. And really, as an alcoholic addict, you're always told to question your reality. You're the sick one. And I guess I just really wanted to hear more about that. I am clear about that. I am clear that I am clear that the things that I went through with that, I did get outside help through Alcoholics Anonymous and NA, which are not affiliated with any organization, sect, denomination, that sort of thing. So I kind of was able to deprogram. But I do have other friends and that sort of thing, and how you reach out to get them back into a reality of to be themselves, of not always living on these programs.
Are you saying you feel trauma bonded to the system and to the programs?
Well, at one time I did, but through outside help, through NA and AA, like I said, because they're not affiliated with any sect denomination. I found to be programmed.
It's a difficult. Go on, sorry.
Are constantly. They cannot make it more than 2 months out before they find themselves back into the inpatient.
Right. It is a difficult situation that the organizations find themselves in, and I've seen a lot of harm done by very well-intentioned people. I used to work with the probation service, particularly with drug addicts who are in trouble because of their drug addictions, and there are some really nice people in the system, really well-intentioned people. There's some dreadful scumbags within the system as well. But it's very hard to help somebody without doing what you're talking about, which is this trauma bonding effect, and infantilizing that person and weakening them. It takes a lot of skill to actually genuinely help somebody in a way where they can get stronger and they can get better themselves without needing you. Very often what happens is you help people and then they just get addicted to that help, and then you get exactly what you're talking about, which is institutionalization, where you needed an outside force to get you away from the addiction of the institution that was trying to help you with your addictions in the first place. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, I do sympathize.
Right. Well, through the system, obviously, a big part of my sober support is these other women, and it is so hard for me to, literally, they cannot make it more than 2 months before they find themselves in another long-term program. And if there is a way to deprogram this.
I think one of the things that needs to happen is that you need to look at the core root issues, and it's very, very hard to help other people. It's really, really tough for me to give you a piece of advice that you could give these people that you're with. I mean, it's so tough. It's hard enough to help ourselves, but if you can, the only advice I would say in that regard is if you can be a model for that and show them this is what you've done to get away from it, maybe give them the inspiration and be like, well, if you can do it, then I can do it as well. That's probably going to be the best way of doing it. But, you know, you're probably going to have to accept that for the time being, that's where they're at. And yeah, they will be in and out of these institutions because they're in a cycle of that. They're almost addicted to the institution that's trying to help them get off the addiction.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question, and thanks for coming on. Take care.
Thanks.
Anna Banana, you just jumped on and then you jumped out again. Jump back on again. I'm going to answer one more question. We're going to wait and see if Anna Banana, your username, I can't even say it inside my own head. Please come back on. Failing that, I'll answer one more question and then we will wrap it up. Okay, one more question here. Sorry I didn't get to answer all your questions, guys. I've done the best I could. I hope I did a good job. I was the scapegoat in the family, raised by a narcissist mother. My sister, the golden child, treated me just as badly as my mother. What does a narcissist say to the golden child to treat the scapegoat so horribly? I don't think in that environment the narcissist needs to say anything. The golden child becomes the golden child because they realize the game that they're in, and then they choose to play along with it. On some level, they're children, they don't consent to this. I'm not trying to demonize children. They don't get to say no, but their response to what is going on is different. The scapegoat is the truth teller. So the golden child usually will be somebody who can go, aha, this is the game that we're playing here. Let's make this one the bad one because that's what my mum is doing or that's what mum and dad is doing. Okay, well, if I stand next to them and throw stones at you, then I don't get stones thrown at me. If I stand next to you whilst they're throwing stones at you, they're going to throw stones at me too. I'm giving this to you in very brutal, quick terms, but this is the truth of how it goes down. You were the scapegoat, not because they sat down and had a meeting and said you're going to be the scapegoat. You became the scapegoat because your response to the injustice of that system wasn't to play the system, it was to question it. The scapegoat is the person who questions the system. The scapegoat is the truth teller. The scapegoat is the person that says, hey, the emperor has no effing clothes on. I can tell he's naked. It's all a big scam. And then they get punished for that, for inflicting that narcissistic injury. Okay, ladies and gents. Anna Banana, you're going to come back on. Anna Banana. Nope. Okay, cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I went on for an hour and 40 minutes. It was supposed to be an hour. If you have any questions, comments or suggestions, or you want to give me a tutorial on how to use Google Hangouts, I will receive it gladly. We'll do this again within the next 7 to 10 days time. Please keep an eye out on the Spartan Life Coach Facebook page for the full details of the seminar that's coming up. It'll be really cool to meet people face to face and be able to have a chat. It's going to be a really good seminar. And Anna Banana coming back on? No. Okay, well, it's 20 to midnight here in England, so I'm going to wrap it up now and go and get some sleep. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for everybody who called in. You asked some really good questions, and everybody wrote me questions. I've really enjoyed trying to answer them. Please leave your feedback below, and I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you very much.